Students, all of us know our rights and fundamental duties, but who give us these rights? It is the Indian Constitution. When was our Constitution formed? Where is it located? How was it formed? And why was it formed? Let's find out more about the Indian Constitution. Here comes the topic, the will of the people. So Somnath Lahiri, a communist member in the Constituent Assembly, viewed that deliberation of the Constituent Assembly, it was under the influence of the British imperialism. He insisted the members and Indian in general to make themselves completely free from the influences of imperial rules. So we should keep it in mind that during the winter of 1946-47, when deliberations are going on in the assembly, the British was still in India. So the interim government that was headed by Jawaharlal Nehru had to function under the direction of the Viceroy and the British government in London. So Lahiri believed that the British made constitution was working under the British plan as the British should like it to be worked out. Jawaharlal Nehru also knew it very well that most of the nationalist leaders were in the favor of a different kind of constituent assembly. The main reason of it was the British government had a hand in its birth and the government had attached some condition within which the assembly was to function. So while expressing his view on this state of affairs, Nehru stated, "You must not ignore the sources or the source from which the assembly derives its strength." So here the source are the people. So government did not come into being by state paper. Governments are in fact the expressions of the will of the people. So we have met here today because of the strength of the people behind us, and we shall go as far as the people, not of any party or group, but the people as a whole. So shall wish us to go. We should therefore always keep in mind the passion that lie in the hearts and the masses of the Indian people, and we try to fulfill them. The Constituent Assembly was being considered as source of expressing the aspiration of those who had participated in the freedom struggle of the country. So you can see the 19th century, the ideals of democracy, equality and justice had become closely associated with social struggle in India. The 19th century social reformers, while opposing the child marriage and demanding for widow remarriage, were in a way pleading for social justice. The campaign launched by Swami Vivekananda to reform Hinduism was in fact an effort to make religions more just. So the effort of Jyotiba Phule in Maharashtra to improve the lot of the depressed caste and efforts made by the communist and socialist in order to organize worker and peasants were in the way efforts to get economic and social justice. So the Indian national movement, besides being a movement against an oppressive and illegal government, was also a struggle for democracy and justice, for citizen right and equality. So we should remember that the growing demand for the representation, the British administrator had to introduce several constitutional reforms. For example, you can see the Act were passed in 1909, 1919 and 1935 in order to enlarge the space for the Indian participation in the provincial government. So the Government of India Act, you can see 1919, which came to be known as Montagu-Chelmsford Reform, made executive partially responsible to the provincial legislature. Even the Government of India Act 1935 established provincial autonomy and made the executive mostly entirely responsible to legislature. However, we should not forget that the Act of 1909 and 1919 and 1935 was introduced by the colonial government itself. India had no participation in the process of their enactment. It should be it should also be kept in mind that the legislature that is elected under the Government of India Act 1935, they were responsible to the governor that was appointed by the British. So till 1935, there was no universal adult franchise. Only 10 to 15% of the adult populations, they had the right to vote. But on 15 December 1946, Nehru was talking of the vision of the constitution of an independent, sovereign Republic of India, which clearly indicates that the earlier constitutional developments and the development that taking place in the 3 years from 1946 were naturally not a part of the same process. So here defining the rights of the citizen. So there was much difference of view on the issue of defining the rights of the citizen. So the members of the Constituent Assembly were not uniform on the issues like as to how the citizen rights were to be defined, who in fact could be defined as minority, and what rights they were to have, and if the oppressed group were to have any special right or not. So demand of separate electorate for minorities. Defining the term minority, B. Paukar Bahadur from Madras wanted to continue the system of separate electorate for minorities. So on 27th August 1947, while making an impressive speech on this issue, he said, minorities, it exists in all the land. Okay, they could not be wished away, they could not be erased out of the existence. The need was to create a political framework in which the minorities could live in harmony with each other. According to Bahadur, in order to achieve this objective, it was imperative to give minority well representation within the political system, to hear their voices and to take their views into account. B. Paukar Bahadur felt that the need of the Muslim could be well understood only by the Muslims. So therefore, there was a great need of meaningful Muslim participation in the governance of the country, which could be met only by the system of separate electorate. Most of the members of the Constituent Assembly, they were against continuing the system of separate electorates. Most nationalists felt that it was a trick played by the British administrators by which they wanted to divide the Indians. R.V. Dhulekar opposed it very strongly. Addressing B. Paukar Bahadur, he said, the English played their game under the cover of safeguards. With the help of it, they allured you to a long lull. Give it up now. Now there is no one to misguide you. The nationalist leader had become the staunch opponents of the idea of separate electorates because of the partitions. So while condemning it strongly, Sardar Vallabhbhai Bhai Patel said separate electorates was a poison that has entered the body politics of our country. He felt that this demand was responsible for turning one community against another, for dividing the nation, for causing bloodshed and the tragic partition of the country. Sardar Patel asked, do you want peace in this land? If so, do away with it or do away with separate electorates. So we should keep it in mind that behind all these arguments of the nationalists, there was a deep concern with the making of a unified nation state. In order to bring political unity and build a nation, it was imperative to mold every individual into citizens of the state and to assimilate each group with the state. If the constitutions was to grant citizen rights, the citizen too, on their part, were to offer their loyalty to the state. In fact, the main objective of the nationalists was to build a strong and powerful nation. In the opinion of N.G. Ranga, a socialist and a leader of the peasant movement, the poor and the downtrodden were the real minorities. So the term minority should be interpreted in economic terms. The legal rights the Constitution was going to grant to each individual were welcomed by N.G. Ranga, but he also pointed to its limits. Ranga felt that these constitutionally enshrined rights were meaningless if they were not implemented in an effective manner. He emphasized the need of creating such conditions as to enable the people to enjoy these rights effectively. Making his viewpoint more clear, he said, they need props, they need a ladder. So N.G. Ranga, while drawing attention to the wide gulf separating the common masses and those claiming to be their representatives in the Constituent Assembly, remarked, whom we are supposed to represent, the ordinary masses of our country, and yet most of us do not belong to the masses themselves. We are of them, we wish to stand for them, but the masses themselves are not able to come up to the Constituent Assembly. It may take some time. In the meanwhile, we are here as their trustees, as their champions, and we are trying our best to speak for them. Jaipal Singh, a representative of the tribals in the Constituent Assembly, was a gifted orator. While welcoming the objective resolution, he expressed his view as such: as an Adivasi, I am not expected to understand the legal intricacy of the resolutions, but my common sense tells me that every one of us should march in that road to freedom and fight together. Sir, if there is any group of Indian people that has been shabbily treated, it is my people. They have been disgracefully treated, neglected for the last 6,000 years. The whole history of my people is one of the continuous exploitation and dispossessions by the non-aboriginals of the India, punctuated by rebellions and disorder. And yet I take Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru as his words. I take you all at your words that now we are going to start a new chapter of independent India, where there is equality of opportunity, where no one would be neglected. So Jaipal Singh clarified that although the tribals were not a numerical minority, they needed protection. They are perceived as primitive and backward and are treated contemptuously by the rest of society. So Jaipal Singh was not in the favor of separate electorate, but he felt that reservations of seats in the legislatures was essential for their representations, while making a moving plea for removing the emotional and physical distance separating the tribal from the rest of society. He said, our point is that you have got to mix with us. We are willing to mix with you. So here you can see he was not asking for separate electorate, but he felt that reservation of seats in the legislature was essential to allow the tribal to represent themselves. It would be a way, he said, of compelling others to hear the voice of tribal and come near them.